Please welcome to the stage actor Asia Kate Dillon.
Hi, folks. Thank you so much for having me. It's really my pleasure to be here. We're going to begin with 1 minute of mindfulness. So please, close your eyes and take this minute to reconnect with your breath. Take this minute to reconnect with yourself in this room, in this moment, now. Breathing in and breathing out. Do this on your own time. Breathing in and breathing out. On your next inhale, gently remind yourself that you are enough. And on your next exhale, breathe that enoughness out into the room as a gift. On your next inhale, gently remind yourself that you are loved. And on your next exhale, breathe that love out into the room as a gift as you open your eyes. James Baldwin said, "There is never time in the future in which we will work out our salvation. The challenge is in the moment. The time is always now." My name is Asia Kate Dillon. My pronouns are they, theirs, and them. I use these pronouns instead of he or she, or many countless options, because these pronouns feel right to me as someone who identifies as both transgender and gender non-binary. My gender identity falls outside the boxes of man and woman. I am not a man or a woman. Although I was designated female at birth, based on a quick glance at my external genitalia, which I will concede was a perfectly reasonable designation, I do not identify with the gender identity placed on top of people who are designated female at birth. It is unreasonable to me that because I am female, I should also have to be a girl or a woman. I exist outside of the binary ideological system, which is just one of the ideological systems that have been created in order to justify and uphold social, political, and economic oppression. Systems which result ultimately, and this is a truth that no one can escape, in the separation of us all, every one of us, from ourselves and from our humanity. For queer people like me, queer people of color especially, and for anyone, really, home is not always safe. School is not always safe. The dance hall is not always safe. Church is not always safe. We must attempt with great loving effort to make work a safe space. When people feel safe, they are able to be creative, to invent, and to love. The question placed before me today by this summit and before us all really is the future of equality, how we get there, and what is at stake. That's a very large question. A question whose largesse would understandably overwhelm anyone who faces it. What is at stake, and this is going to sound a bit mystical, is our very own, bless you, our very own souls. Your company is a microcosm of the world as you see it, as you want it to be. Do you want to live in a more equal and inclusive world because you have a desire to be included, to be truly equal, to be free? No one is free until we all are free. Until the most marginalized among us, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, especially trans, intersex, and genderqueer folks, and differently abled folks, are held up as essential assets toward the survival of us all, no one will be free. Until discriminatory laws, which put into question the fundamental nature of all our inalienable rights, are dismantled, no one will be free. Until white people, people who benefit from the invention of whiteness, acknowledge that the color of our skin has given us privileges that are not inherent to us as human beings, no marginalized person will be free because it is privilege that creates margins. A question that Alicia Garza, co-founder of Black Lives Matter, posed in a conversation I was honored to be a part of was, where do you stand on the power scale? I understood that she didn't just mean the job title or position I held within my place of work. She meant that even as a queer trans person, I still have light skin, which means I have more power than people of color because I benefit from the invention of whiteness. Acknowledgement of this fact does not negate my innate talents, my hard work, my worth, or my own marginalization as a queer trans person. I have taken what I feel to be instructions from people like James Baldwin, and certainly more recently Ta-Nehisi Coates, and from the Black Lives Matter movement, and come to an understanding that it is my job to educate other white people about racism and oppression, about the future of equality, and what is at stake. I understand that the burden of explanation, of starting the conversations, should not only be on the oppressed. Coming to the understanding that people with light skin benefit from the invention of whiteness, that I was given privilege and power that I never earned nor deserved, that realization is scary. Because ultimately it means that I am, that white people are in a cage too. It's a gilded cage, but it's still a cage. When we work to make the world safer and more free for others, we are ultimately working to make it safer and more free for ourselves. Black lives matter. As a trans, non-binary, gender-identified person, I know how isolating invisibility feels. I know how it feels when instead of being seen as a human being first, you are only seen as your sex, your gender, or the color of your skin. And I know how good it feels to have allies. So I challenge, in particular, all the white, self-identified cisgender people in this room, the men especially, straight and queer among you. Be the first person in a meeting to say what pronouns you use and ask others what they use. Do this at the beginning of every meeting. Even if you think you know how someone identifies or how someone identified last week, remember that you actually have no idea until you ask them. Say good morning, folks, instead of ladies and gentlemen. Have restrooms instead of men and women's rooms. If you accidentally misgender someone, just correct yourself with pride. Don't spend time feeling bad about yourself or apologizing, which actually makes the moment about you instead of the person who you've misgendered. When you acknowledge that you yourself are ever evolving, ever changing, different every moment of every day, you acknowledge the same is true for all people. We must embrace the difference. As Lena Waithe said, the things that make us different, those are our superpowers. Taking our cue from Lena, we must use our superpowers to be the change we wish to see in the world. The future of equality, how we get there and what is at stake? Well, why are we here on this planet? Why are we alive? I believe we are here to help take care of each other. The question then becomes, how do we make a we that is actually all of us? The only answer I have found is to act directly, to connect directly with the people around me, with my community, to lead with love and to listen more than I speak. The more you employ people of all colors, identities, sexual orientations, from all economic classes and backgrounds, the more perspectives you have in the mix, the greater ability we will have to care for each other. It is the people who are the most disenfranchised, the most marginalized, who can see the forest for the trees, and who have the blueprints for solutions for the problems that affect us all. As I said, when we work to make the world safer, freer, more understanding, and more loving for others, we are ultimately working to make it safer, freer, more understanding, and more loving for ourselves. I repeat this sentiment because it is this sentiment that presides over the throne in my heart, which I have been generously invited to share with you today. Mahatma Gandhi said, "We but mirror the world. All the tendencies present in the outer world are to be found in the world of our body. If we could change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. We need not wait to see what others do." Thank you very much.